What's up, you guys? I'm Dan, this is Frugal Not Cheap, and today we'll talk about multi-level marketing. So the pitch for multi-level marketing obviously sounds great. You get to be your own boss, make your own hours, and your success is only bounded by the amount of effort that you put into it. You're selling a product that you're using anyway, and better yet, you can create passive income from the sales to the people that you recruit to work under you. So that's the pitch, and it sounds pretty great at face value, but the reality is quite dismal. And all we have to do is just look at this proposition for, I don't know, a little bit, and we can quickly see why it's not going to work for most people. Unfortunately, however, it is something that lures a lot of people in. In fact, I'm sure most of you have encountered someone that's been involved in one of these multi-level marketing schemes. For me, the first time was some years back. There was a guy that I'd recently met, thought we might become friends or something. He invited me over to meet him at a coffee shop. We got together and started having coffee, and then he pitched me on selling products. It was an MLM where they were selling products that used Melaleuca honey in them. Anyway, so of course I was not very happy about this, and I told him I wasn't interested, and I'm pretty sure I got up and left. But what if I hadn't? What if I'd, bought the story and gone into it? What would have happened? Well, the way this generally works is that you buy a bunch of product from a company. So already right there, we should see the problem, right? The customer for the company is the salesperson. So, can't restate that enough. Again, the company isn't providing you with the merchandise that you then go on and sell. The company is selling it to you. You are the customer. Then you go out and try to sell this product. And if you happen to be, a person that has a very large personal network and the product happens to be actually pretty decent, it's not a terrible product, then you might have some initial success, perhaps. But this begs the question, if it's, a really good product, then why wouldn't the company just sell it directly? And yeah, you might say, well, there's overhead and, stores are expensive, all that. But there are tons of businesses now that are direct to consumer, only online. And you could do, guerrilla marketing tactics that are a lot cheaper on, Facebook and Instant, that kind of a thing. Of course, the reason why is because it is not about the product. The product is the opportunity. Okay, so let's say you get out there and you start making a few sales, things are going okay. What's going to happen most likely is the person who recruited you, like the guy I met in the coffee shop, would then encourage you to start getting people to work under you. So you hit up all your social networks and encourage other people to join. So these are people that, some might be strangers, but there might be also people that you actually know and care about, and you're getting them involved in this scheme, which I guess at the time, maybe you deluded yourself into thinking is a great idea, right? So the way that it'll work is then any sales that they make, you'll get a cut of that. Though I think a lot of the structure is also like you get a cut of whatever they buy. So that, in any companies where that's the case, I think you can see even more clearly that yeah, it's kind of predatory. But anyway, here comes the second part of the problem. So while we entered into this new area and hit up our social network and initially had some success, as we start, recruiting people to work under us, then what we're effectively doing is we're saturating the market. So we're recruiting our own competition, and while there might be, some places where our networks don't overlap, it's probably people that we've grown up with or we know pretty well. It's very unlikely that we would have we'd be recruiting people that are in completely different parts of the country, and even then there might be other people selling that same product out there. But essentially we begin saturating the market, and so what's going to happen there, of course, is that there's just going to be only so much demand within a certain area. And you can only have so many people selling the product at any one time. And this is something that we absolutely wouldn't do if the sales were really about the product itself, right? If the product is good, then I would want to have a monopoly. I would want to be the only salesperson in the area selling this product that's in high demand, that everybody's loving, and getting to reap the benefits of that, rather than recruiting other people to do that. It just makes no sense. So again, the product that is being bought here are all the independent salespeople buying the opportunity. So that's the product that they're buying. And the company is selling to them this opportunity, and so they are the customer. You may have seen the math before, but if you take one person and then they recruit two people and then they recruit two people themselves and each of those recruits two people, right? So very, very quickly, this exponential is going to encompass the entire global population in just a few steps. So hopefully you can see here why the whole multi-level marketing scheme doesn't make any sense from the get-go. And in fact, you've probably gotten an idea of the structure here, right? What is that? That is a pyramid. So some funny scenes, from The Office.
Let me explain again. Phil has recruited me and another guy. Now we are getting 3 people each. The more people that get involved, the more people who are investing, the more money we're all going to make. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se.
Then also from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's not a pyramid scheme, it's a reverse funnel system.
Turn it upside down.
But they're able to skirt the rules against Ponzi and pyramid schemes. Those things are illegal because there is a product that's being sold. I think we've done a decent enough job of saying why this is a terrible idea. But why did people fall for this terrible idea? When even with a very shallow look at the premise on its face, we can see that it makes no sense. Well, this is because of that social networking aspect where you have people that you at least know have some positive association with that are pitching this thing to you. And you might not want to believe that, they're doing something that will end up harming you. Not only that, but this pitch tends to work on people that, of course, are going to be more receptive to it. But when we look at that, I do think it is quite predatory. So there are a few MLMs like Primerica, that are geared mostly towards men, and there are also some MLMs that are sort of equal opportunity destroyers, right? They'll go for both men and women, but you may have noticed yourself that the vast majority of these things tend to be geared towards women, which again, traditionally, right? There's a lot more stay-at-home and military wives that have the time, and the pitch really works where you get to make your own schedule. It's a social thing. They might have a bigger social network. And so then they're able to it sounds like you can be able to use that in order to really make this quote unquote opportunity work for you. You can be able to take care of, whatever the family obligations are. And then outside of that or around that, you can squeeze in these hours to be a hashtag girl boss and, have this business and what have you. And I think an unfortunate really why it's so predatory for me and why this is a topic that I'm fairly passionate about is that the people that are most likely to get into these schemes are the people that least can afford to. So if you're in a lot of debt, then this kind of thing is going to be attractive. If you're in a desperate situation where you feel like you're just barely making ends meet, and you start seeing these people post about their pink Cadillacs and their fancy vacations that the company pays for, supposedly, it's going to be very, very attractive. But what ends up happening is instead of being the boss of this financial empire with all these people working under you, is you end up being really just the boss of throwing good money after bad. You buy the initial batch of product, you try to sell some, fail, recruit some people, maybe, but they're going to fail too. And there's oftentimes a lot of restrictions, like you need to buy a certain amount of product every month. The whole thing is just set up terribly. And so you end up, having a bunch of inventory, having huge losses at the same time because this business is failing. Everyone's telling you need to present a strong face. You're the reason for your failure. You're just not being a good salesperson. Fake it till you make it. Then you're telling everybody how good of an opportunity this is, and they're getting signed up, and then the guilt builds up. And I can just imagine this being quite a terrible path to go down. In my own personal experience, I've known, besides the coffee guy, all the other people that I've known that have been involved in MLMs have been women. I think maybe there's one of them that appears to have been successful. She was sort of an early entrant into her social network and actually is able to sell the product itself to a lot of people. So she's successful in that way. So this is one instance where hopefully it's not quite as predatory as in others. I'm not sure. But the rest of them, and the large majority of them, ended up being real failures, and in some cases really expensive. I don't know if you remember LuLaRoe. There was a Netflix documentary about this company where they were at one point just terrible merchandise was being sold to the distributors. It was very expensive just to get started. So the initial buy-in cost is very high, and then you have this huge sunk cost fallacy that gets people to really try to make this thing work. But we don't need to rely on my personal anecdotes to know about what the statistics are on what your chances of success are with any of these things. Two of the people that I knew were involved in Mary Kay. Mary Kay itself puts out numbers for what the average earnings are for people within their organization amongst these independent contractors. So in 2019, the percentage of people that were making the kinds of really, really attractive earnings, because they're at the top of the pyramid, that was 0.05%, right? So it is not 1%, it's not 1/10%, it's 1/2% of the sales force that is making those really high earnings of over $120,000. And even then, making $120 and being a salesperson, if you're a good salesperson, shouldn't be all that hard in many different industries. And Mary Kay's data says that it took them about 15 years in order to get in this position. So the longer you're in it, the more time you can have to have people under you, and the earlier you get in, the better. Moving down one rung, it's a huge, huge drop into an income category that I don't think anyone really wants to aspire to, which is to make $20,000 a year. It's still only a tiny fraction of the Mary Kay, independent contractors. I want to be careful a little bit here, not to get sued. Obviously, these companies are still operating and they haven't been found to be criminal enterprises. So please, yeah. But these numbers say, we've got 1.67% only are making $20,000. So what does that say? The vast majority are making much, much less than that or losing money. 15% of them made $200 in a year, and 83%, it says, made zero in earnings, which of course means net, they lost money, right? So these are by far, statistically speaking, definitely losing propositions. And you can find similar figures if you look up many other MLM companies like Herbalife or Amway or what have you. You should be able to find these kinds of reports, and you'll see that, man, the odds are really, really against you. So in summary, just what it says in the thumbnail, MLMs, please don't. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.